looking for a brighter season.
What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Jelani Sharif, and I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, born and raised.
And did you also go to school out here? Did you travel or anything like that anywhere else, or have you always lived out here in Portland?
I've always lived out here in Portland. I attended Woodlawn High School, or Woodlawn Elementary School, I'm sorry. Boise Elliott Elementary School. From there, I went on to middle school at Harriet Tubman. And from there, I went on to high school at Jefferson High School. Tim knows how I say, you know.
Yep, and so recently you've been subjected to a certain amount of attention, and what would you say that narrative has been built off of?
I want to say the narrative off that attention is really built off of rhetoric that I've said and things I've made, statements and stuff that I've made on social media, and a lot of it comes from just becoming enlightened to certain situations we were privy to being distracted and blinded from, and was conditioned not to care about. So once you wake up and you start realizing that you were a mental slave and you was caught up inside of self-hate and stuff, it makes you angry. It makes you angry. So once you become angry and you know these things, it goes to sorrow. From sorrow, you have a split second of calmness, and then it goes into education and let me just get the information out. And you try not to make anybody feel bad about their situation that they are in, lifestyle that they are living, and understand that people have a right to live their life the way that they see fit. As long as you're not violating anybody, nobody's being harmed, then you should have the right to live your life. So I think a lot of the negative attention that I've been getting is because of things that I've said in the past. But I want to say that was my progression into learning and to growing into being what I need to be. And we all make mistakes along this path and this journey, but never have I said that anybody deserves violence, anybody should be harmed for their choice of lifestyle or anything like that. So I think it's just a lot of miscommunication, and we see that a lot in this society today, that people just can't get along because of difference of opinion.
So are you currently a part of any organizations, and do you have any affiliation with any organizations here and out of state?
Yeah, I do. I'm a Black Rider. I'm a Rider for Life, and Black Rider Liberation Party, New Generation, Black Panther Party. That is the main organization that I'm a part of, and we believe the right into self-defense and defending yourself, and educating our people on the inside of the prison walls as well as on the outside of the prison walls about social injustice, fascism, capitalism, and learning about these things, because we so behind on the ball, we don't even understand that we're not even involved and included in none of that stuff, but it affects us, and we don't know how it affects us unless we understand from the beginning what it actually is. So that's what our organization is about, is really just teaching and educating people on political education.
How do you feel about the way the media portrays the Black Riders Liberation Party and New Generation Black Panther?
Well, the media, especially the right-wing media institutions and stuff like that, and outlets that portray us as being, militant thugs or domestic terrorists or some kind of fear to society, just because we are in BDUs, which is battle dress uniforms, is no different than seeing any red-blooded European American doing the same thing with plate carriers, or they're in army stuff, or if they got a trucker hat with a U.S. flag on their hat. To me, that's signifying your nation. It's like a gang. It's like gangs. You got a red rag, you got a blue rag. America's a big ass gang. America's a big gang. So, we pick up from what we learn from them and what we watch from them. The FBI is a gang, the CIA is a gang. They'll tell you that they're the biggest gang in America. There is no army on here that can see them from gunpowder to executions and executing things on people's lives to where, you know, they're now incarcerated and looking at things and just putting fear into people, you know what I mean? It's like stormtroopers. When you see rallies and stuff now, you see nothing but militarized force, you know, we living in a military state. So I think the media portrayal of us is like, everybody else can do it, but we can't, you know, and not once have we harmed anybody. Even the media portrayal, because of certain things that's been said and spun a certain way, the Southern Poverty Law Center labeled our group, and especially important, on the national hate crime list, and ain't nobody been in jail for a hate crime. Like, I don't get that. That's like saying I'm a serial killer or a convicted rapist, and you got to go register to be living in a house somewhere, but you never been convicted of molesting nobody or raping anybody. So it's like, I don't understand that. Like, how can we be on the hate list group, and yet still certain European groups and organizations is not on the hate list group, but the media portrayal of us landed us on a hate list group. That means if anything happened, we're going to jail for a hate crime. Yet we have Jeremy Christensen in Portland, Oregon, who did something on the max and cut some people, killed a person, and he wasn't labeled a hate crime, even though he was saying, he said the right things though. He said freedom of speech, right to America, the American flag, and patriotic, and they threw all the hate crime, hate, that's not hate. They threw that all out the window. But if I said the same thing, I'd be labeled a domestic terrorist, or they would view me as being a threat to society or a threat to their establishment because I'm going against them, you know, and I'm not standing patriotic. So I think if I would have stood behind an American flag or American flag in front of me, I don't think they would spin it the way they have. But because I got a red, black, and green flag, it's not American. So anything that's not American is an enemy. To me, that's no different than the gangs. If you're not with us, then you against us.
With that being said, do you feel a certain type of way about the FBI's Black Identity Extremist program?
Yeah, absolutely. That leaked document was leaked out, and I believe, got a comrade, Rakim Belagoon, who was the target of the BIE as well, and they used a old charge from him in another state that he never got charged with to say that he couldn't be around weapons and firearms. And once the smoke cleared, it looked like he could, but he had to spend 5 months in prison because of this. Now, if they picked him up off of weapon charges and, you know, whatever the charge was somewhere else, then why is all of this rhetoric about self-defense and guns and what you can and can't do and what you've been training? Like, we don't do nothing, they ain't doing nothing different than Europeans is doing. Listen, I follow airsoft. That's what I do. I follow airsoft. And I see these people dressed very, very, very similar. All the way down, they call them kits. The kits is the same, no different than what you see a U.S. Navy SEAL would wear. From helmet down to the communications, to the earphones, to the plate carriers, matching the whole outfit. Like, you know what outfit to get, what the newest outfit is the SEAL teams is wearing and stuff like that. And they go out and they play airsoft. So when I do the same thing because I picked up a hobby, it seems like that became a problem. So yeah, I think the Black Identity Extremist is really out there to say that, you know, and understand that Black Identity Extremist is just another word, the label that they put on us today. Because back in the day, it was either you're black or they said the Black Panthers was the greatest threat to national security. You know, how? Why? We just living in our elders was just living in their own city, minding their own business, and they were getting brutally abused by police. And this time they didn't have no cell phones, wasn't nothing being recorded. You could only imagine what our elders was going through. So yeah, you know, it's a sad situation, and it makes me kind of angry, and I have the right to be angry, you know what I mean, because that's just another way to target our people and target our people who's standing up for our people, who's willing to get out there and sacrifice, you know, body, life, limb, and freedom to say that, you know, we need to do better. We need to do better. You know, why can I not train my kids and my people on how to adequately use a firearm, use a weapon, knife, scissors, whatever it is, and train them to protect themselves in self-defense? And that is frowned upon to say that, well, you're going to go out and go harm somebody. That's because it's media image portrayal of black people, though. You know, we got The Wire, we got all these negative TV shows to say that anybody that's black carry a gun or a weapon, they look like a thug and they're going to automatically have to rob you. I don't want to rob nobody. You know, I'm not a threat to nobody unless you're a threat to me. So it's just, it doesn't make sense. And with that BIE thing, it's just another way to say that if you do any of these things in this circle, they say black identity extremist, he has a different flag other than American flag. He has army clothes. He likes weapons. He or she like weapons. They like to train in combat. They spit a certain kind of rhetoric. They follow a certain kind of code. Then that all means they're a black identity extremist. We have Antifa, and you know, shout out to the Antifa people, man. You know what I mean? We have them. We have Patriot Prayer guys out here, Proud Boys, and everything else. I'm confused on what a white extremist is, white identity extremist is, because they down here blowing stuff up with M80s and a lot of stuff and so forth. You know what I mean? And going back and forth. So I'm just confused on what a black identity extremist is compared to a white identity extremists. I don't even know what falls into this category of white identity extremists, because I can see us, like I said, it's either you got a red, black, and green flag, or you have military clothing. Certain things fall in line and say you are extreme and you're black. So it's just another word to put a label on us, to put us in a box and basically put us in jail.
Do you feel like you're a target of the FBI?
I know I'm a target of the FBI. I know I'm a target of the FBI. I'm a target of the FBI because of the things that I said. Now, I know I've said some things in the past because, like I said, I was angry. Once you start seeing things for what it is and there's no hiding it in the media, so we see Eric Gardner getting choked out. We see a black man running and getting shot in the back and a cop kind of throwing, I think, a weapon by him. I think he actually went to jail for that. Or you see Philando Castile, you know, in his car with his kid and his wife, telling the officer that he is armed and he does have a license, and he gets shot in front of his family and nothing happens. That makes people angry. And oh, honestly, you know, white people who are not privy to this stuff are looking at these things and still see black people as the enemy and greatest threat to them for whatever reason will never understand this pain, because if the shoes was reversed, you know, and it was a lot of black cops killing white people, these people would be very upset because that's their family members. That's their loved ones, even if they don't know them. You know what I mean? So I believe that being targeted by the FBI is very easy today, just based off of things that you do. Now, I know I have been on record, and like I said, I was angry and went to a rally, and I think I quote myself, quote unquote, I think, is saying that if the police violate you to the point to where you feel like your life is in danger, and they're acting out of the scope of their practice and their ability. And I'll give you an example. Sandra Bland was pulled over for a tail light that was out or wasn't blinking or something and so forth. She got a ticket. And when and this is coming from a lawyer, so I can't really quote unquote, because I'm not too much familiar with the law, but basically what the lawyer is saying that, and it makes sense, and y'all can help me out if it doesn't make sense, is that once she was pulled over for the tail light, that was the initial investigation for the officer. Once he was done and handed her a ticket, he told her to pull out her cigarette. He was acting outside of his scope of practice. It's not illegal to smoke a cigarette in a car. Even after I gave you your ticket and I handed you your citation, your investigation was over. She now has to deal with the court. So at the end of the day, how can this woman be pulled out of her car, slammed to the ground, and all of a sudden she died in police custody because she was smoking a cigarette? Like, this is on camera. We have to understand that this is our loved one. That's somebody's mama, somebody's sister, brother. Somebody had to raise that young woman just to see this video of her. Like, how many times we gonna keep getting slapped in the face before we realize, like, you know, we don't get smarter and get wiser or something, we're gonna be exterminated. We're gonna be exterminated. So I know I went on record saying basically, if you know, they act outside their scope of practice, I think I said it, in self-defense, pull out, you can able to harm that officer. This is what the lawyer has said on YouTube, that you are able to harm that officer because at that point, that officer is no longer a peace officer. This officer is acting outside of his scope of practice in an investigation. It wasn't illegal to do something. So in that case, if she was smoking a cigarette, that wasn't illegal. When he put her out in the car, that was illegal. That was no longer an officer in uniform. He was just a person inside of a uniform. That means today, an officer basically today come around and just slap everybody just because he's an officer. You know what I mean? And tell you, hey, your shoes on the wrong foot. Put them on the wrong foot. Put them on the right feet and beat you up. Like, I got the right to wear my shoes on the wrong foot if I want to. That's not illegal. It wasn't illegal to smoke a cigarette. So I said some things that I shouldn't have said at all because I was acting and I was being reactionary and I had to fall back. And that was 3 years ago. 3 years ago that I said that, you know what I mean? So I have to go back on record. I made an interview about that and, you know, cleared that up. Like I always say, practice peace but prepare for war. Practice peace but prepare for war. You just never know, you know what I mean? Just because, you know, I'm over here doing this don't mean white supremacists can't show up at my house. They can find my house just like anybody else's.
So if someone asked you today, do you advocate violence on law enforcement? What would you say?
I don't advocate violence on anybody. I don't advocate violence on law enforcement. I don't advocate violence on anybody. You know what I mean? Everybody have the right to live, and I don't think any of us should be playing God and should be playing, you know, jury and hanging over somebody's life. You know what I mean? But I do believe people naturally have the right to self-defense and to defend themselves from terrorism, harm, violence, or anything else. You know what I mean? No matter who or what you are or what you believe in, you have the right to defend yourself as a natural person. And it's not like this isn't because, you know, you want to think black people carry guns because they want to go hurt somebody or anything like that. That is not it. People carry weapons because they don't want to die. They don't want to be the ones that's killed. You know what I mean? So we living in a very, very touchy society right now to where everything is something. You know, so no, I don't advocate violence against no kind of law enforcement at all. I do advocate my people to have self-defense. That doesn't mean law enforcement just get to come around and come bully you and kick you around and beat you up. And, you know, we seeing people getting pounded out on the side of the roads and stuff like, you know, the abuse level, the testosterone, or whatever these mental checks with officers that are not in a certain community or looked at people a certain kind of way, less than human, then naturally you're going to treat that person like a dog. You're going to treat that person less than anything, probably treat your dog better. Because I've seen some things that was done by law enforcement, done from, you know, racist people to people, and I still don't even understand it. Our people was hung in three-piece suits. Our people were mutilated. Our people were buck broke in slavery. And we like to sit up here and act like a lot of this stuff is stopped. You know, buck breaking when a slave master was drunk on lust and he wanted to go out there and make an example of the buck, which was the bigger black man. He would bend him over and he would sodomize that man in front of his wife, children, in front of the whole plantation to say that if you rebel against me, this is going to happen to you. Now, how is that man's wife supposed to look at him? How is his kid supposed to look at him? The same thing's going on today. You get, you know, castrated from the media, you know what I mean? They take your manhood and everything else just in different ways. Just in different ways. And there's nothing worse than seeing somebody who you know is strong and then law enforcement come and they make them look so weak in front of their family. That's a psychological warfare. That's a game. You know, they will leave the dead body outside like Fred Hampton, just like, I can't remember the young man's name right now at the top of my head, who was killed and left in the street for I don't know how many hours. You know what I mean? That's so that people can see if you decide to do this, this can happen to you. You know what I mean? It's not just because they want to leave them out there like that. You know, they got to do their investigation and so forth. But I mean, it's a dead body. Ain't nothing. What's to investigate right then and there? He had a gun or he didn't. You got shell cases. You shot. Pick the body up. Go. No need to be out there for 4 hours laying out in the hot sun. You know what I mean? So I don't advocate violence against nobody. Nobody. Everybody got the right to live. Everybody got the right to be peaceful and live their life how they see fit, including law enforcement. Just stay within your scope of practice and don't fight like nobody to where somebody should have to use self-defense. You know what I mean? That's not the way society should be moving.
So another question I got is, I feel like a lot of people are confused about what the movement is and the bullet points or main structure. Could you possibly go over either bullet points or practices that are important to the movement that you're currently a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. We live by a code of conduct, and we live by something we call rules of discipline. In this movement, we live by a certain kind of structure, and we very much pride ourselves on being disciplined. And at certain times, we're not perfect. Like I said, I was reactionary at a certain point, but I had to fall back. I had to go get my training, get my mind right, and I don't don't speak on law enforcement or doing harm to law enforcement at all anymore. You know what I mean? That was my mistake. And like I said, in life, you have to learn from your mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you don't grow. So this is another form of what the things that we practice, that we make our mistakes and turn them around. Because if we don't do that and have people in our corner to help us with that, we just become stagnant in life and live in a certain kind of way that we live in, and that's not always healthy. You know what I mean? We don't always live the healthiest life, to be honest with our people. We don't live the healthiest of lifestyles, whether it's gang violence or drugs, pimping, just running the streets, always in the clubs. Like we don't take things, I believe, we don't take things collectively too serious. You know what I mean? Group economics, that's serious. That means that we're circulating our dollars. But we rather go give them to clubs and fight to get inside of clubs that don't even want us in there, who don't appreciate our dress code. The dress code is made specifically for black people. They know y'all not running up in there in no Abercrombie and Fitch. You know what I mean? So why are we still fighting to get inside of Master's house? We want to take Master to court about his house and why I can't get in his house. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you just go create another club or create a club and have a place for our people to go that we could enjoy, and we ain't got to worry about that? That doesn't make sense. Why try to get Master's house when you can go and get your own house? You know, so the bullet points that we do, one of them which is like, you know, if a comrade get into it with each other, you got 3 days to mend that. Now let it blow over for 3 days. If you after 3 days you can't figure it out, then take it to a higher ranking person, you know, and we have situated out that way. Because a lot of times our people we get into it and we hold grudges and disputes over things that is very trivial, and we don't talk to each other for months and years. You know what I mean? I know everybody done seen it or heard it. Got a family member said, like, damn, you dead to me. Like, over $300? That's some pretty strong words, you know what I mean? And then you don't see that person for months and years over 300 funky ass dollars that you not even gonna do anything with, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, just like, I don't have it right now, I'm gonna get it, or just come get it over here. I can't make it over there because I'm at work. Oh, fuck you, nigga, I'm you dead to me. Like, damn, I even got your money, but because I can't get it to you right now, I'm dead. So it's like we still practice self-hate no matter what. We still practice self-hate. We still indulged into this mental slavery and Jim Crow and, you know, Willie Lynch syndrome and shit like that. So it's like we live by certain bullet points. You know, like I said, so we got 3 days to mend your issues and situation issues out. Can't do that, take it to a higher rank, and we'll sit down with both of you and have a conversation with both of you guys. We believe in self-defense. We believe in armed self-defense. We believe in doing for our people intercommunalism, African intercommunalism, which is intercommunalism more or less is like, you know, do for your city. This was Dr. Huey P. Newton came up with it. It took him about 6 months to actually break it down to the Elder Panthers. And intercommunalism is like doing for your city, doing for what's in front of you right now. You know, from there you can build a broader spectrum of what needs to be done. Then you can take that internationally. You can take that to the next city and whatever else, but you got to take care of your home first. So intercommunalism is just practicing communalism inside your city, building within your city. Once you build there, let's take our stuff collectively, practice group economics, and if Flint had a water issue, we can take all of our money that we collectively pulled in, because now we're practicing intercommunalism inside of our city. We take that money, get some water, and send it out to, you know, out to Flint, Michigan. They should be doing the same thing. If we ever had a water crisis, they should have an organization, enough people organized to where they can send us bottles of water to our city. You know what I mean? You take that and flip it and put African intercommunalism on there, and you take that to a broader spectrum to say we are doing, and it's not wrong, we are doing it specifically for our people, because we are the ones that's disenfranchised. So we take the African intercommunalism and put it in there with the Black Riders. We put African in front, you know, because we should always put African in front, because no matter what, other races get to do things exclusively all the time. You know, whether it's Jewish people, Asian people, nobody's raising any kind of fuss about a Hispanic complex with a soccer field. They doing what they need to do. You can't even hate on them for it. You know what I mean? They don't get mad at them for doing what you should have been doing. People mad at Chinese stores and these Asian stores who selling us hair and everything else, but you don't want to go get a business, but you mad at them for selling hair and they got businesses inside the black community. Don't be mad about the black community if all you doing is tearing it down. All you doing is tearing it down, and you're pimping us. You know what I mean? You poverty pimping us. So if it's a drug dealer in your neighborhood, then tell him put up the community center. If it's a drug dealer in your neighborhood, pimps in the neighborhood, then you hold them accountable and you tell them to go ahead and do the coat drive. Don't let them just keep leeching off our people and shit like that. You know, so yeah, these are things that we like to believe in, because we are about holding our people accountable and holding everybody accountable, even more so our people, which is African intercommunalism. We have to hold our people accountable. And I know a lot of people is going to like think weird on that, but I believe gangs is a positive thing if they have the right mentality and the right outlet. You know what I mean? Because what is a sergeant inside of an army if he doesn't, or a Vietnam veteran, if he doesn't have a sergeant or anybody under rank of him? What is he? Just be a Vietnam vet? And that's kind of like what I would be if I didn't have, you know, because they like, the media would love to say you a leader of this, you a leader of that. And we know from historical facts and historic history, they would take out the leader first to bring something down, something bigger down, you know what I mean? And for me, we haven't did anything. I haven't harmed anybody. I haven't robbed anybody. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't committed any kind of crimes at all to anybody. So for me, it's like, well, I would just be an angry black man if I didn't try to organize. I'd just be a military veteran if I didn't have a sergeant or nobody to, you know, soldiers to have your back and you have their back like they would have yours. You know what I mean? And I would never send anybody to do something that I wouldn't do. And we're not out here to commit crimes. That's not what we're about. So I firmly believe that all of our points are valid and all of our points is legit, especially when you can see the action and historical documentation of us in my organization and other organizations as well, going out to help and feed the community. I don't see how still this makes me a target of the FBI. I know I have FBI. I have an FBI number. I actually have a number, you know, so I know I'm a target of the FBI. But I haven't did anything illegal, same as the hate group. Nobody went to jail for a hate crime. Now, if somebody went to jail for a hate crime and somebody done beat up a whole bunch of white folks on account of that, then I have to eat that. But ain't nobody been to jail for no hate crime. We've been to one was booked and released because we were doing a protest for Quantas Hayes, and the city council was not letting the family members in, so, you know, we just held the line, and that was it. So other than that, nobody been to jail for anything, you know, serious. So yeah.
Speaking on hate crimes, there's a lot of people that would say that the new generation Black Panther Party and the Black Riders Liberation Party are homophobic and sexist. There's been some of the rhetoric online, some of the talks and conversations within comment threads. What do you have to say as far as those allegations of being sexist or homophobic, not liking gay people, or putting men ahead of women in roles?
Well, we're going to clear all that up. We're definitely going to clear all that, because I know I've been called misogynistic and everything else, you know what I mean? And we look up the definition of misogynistic. That's actually saying that you don't like women at all, like you just kind of like despise them and so forth. And a lot of people like to switch and create their own narrative and change the actual definition of what things mean, you know what I mean? To fit their agenda and what they're trying to push at that moment, just to, you know, make themselves feel better or make somebody else look worse, you know? And that's cool. I take that. You know, I'm a soldier. I've been fighting all my life. I've been struggling all my life. I never had too much handed to me and shit like that. I had a great Ayaba, a great queen, a great mother. You know what I mean? But we didn't come from no silver spoon. My mom had to work 2 jobs and so forth. And she took care of me. And I love my mother to the utmost. R.I.P. Rest in love, mother. I love you. You know, I love my mother to the fullest. I've been raised around women, you know what I mean? I've been raised around strong women. I've been raised around political women. And it'd be just very absurd for me to think that I give queens, the ones who bring life into this earth, especially the black queens, who's been trampled on, who's still the subject of abuse, who's still, you know, afraid of their babies getting killed in the street because they're raising young black men. Like, it has to be scary for a black woman to even birth and know that I got a boy. Damn. You know what I mean? So a lot of that stuff really comes from knowing that there isn't an agenda. And I think people take me speaking about the agenda and think this is how I feel about people. Now, at the end of the day, my people, as my black people, they still black. I don't care whether you gay, trans, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's your lifestyle that you choose to live. But at the end of the day, you still black. You know, I don't care if you a feminist. You a black feminist first. You melanated first, because them bullets ain't gonna ask you whether or not you a white feminist or a black feminist or what kind of whatever you are. You like Jay-Z said, you still a nigga. You know what I mean? So at the end of the goddamn day, you're not really being oppressed because of the lifestyle that you are living. You're being oppressed if you're black because you're still black. And I think that should always be first. Like I said, African intercommunalism. We can do communalism and take care of the whole community, the white community, this community, and everybody else. That's fine. You should do that at a certain point. But at a certain point, you should also be able to say, it's okay for me to do something specifically and exclusively just for my people. That should be all right. That should be all right. So far as being, homophobic or anything like that, nah. I got a little brother that's gay. Like, come on. You know what I mean? That doesn't move me. I come from a lifestyle to where I used to be a choreographer. I was around a lot of gay people all the time. I never ever gave them any kind of inclination or treated them any kind of differently. And even the people who say I'm homophobic or misogynistic, I still never treat them differently. I still give them love. I'm just at a point to where, if you are going to try to, be phony and be fake and be putting out an image of me and trying to create this image of me, I have no need to speak to you. But that doesn't mean I hate you or want any kind of harm to come to you. I just let you live your best life, let me live mine, and then, in the middle we can meet on neutral playing grounds. You know what I mean? We got to fight for the same cause, because the stuff that I'm dealing with right now, with all kind of stuff pending against me and everything else, is like I feel oppression, and I don't feel that anybody should be oppressed, no matter what lifestyle that they are choosing to live or what lifestyle they are living, because oppression is real and it's a mental game. A lot of people, if you ain't been through it, you ain't been oppressed. You might have been oppressed because somebody denied you something, but we talking about taking away your civil liberties. We talking about harming stuff. We're not talking about you can't get a job at Burger King or a job at this corporate office because you're black. That's a form of oppression, definitely bad. But we talking about people who are actually oppressed because they're living. You're living, you're breathing. They want to oppress that. You know what I'm saying? By you wanting to live a certain kind of way. You want to train, you want to teach your people. And they be like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it, because that becomes a threat, because you're going to eventually one day go from 30 people to 40 people, from 40 people to 50 people, 60 people, and then in 10 years you got 60 people black people who've been trained in using guns and how to use guns, and they're not turning them on each other no more. Who the fuck they gonna turn the guns on? You know what I mean? So I see that because I'm oppressed because of these things that I'm believing. You know what I mean? So I don't believe that anybody who is gay, trans, bi, or anything like that should be oppressed. It's just really not my, like I said, African communalism, it's not my fight right now. It's not my fight, and that shouldn't be a bad thing. That is not my fight. That doesn't mean that I hate you or I don't like you at all. It's just right now, that is not my fight. My fight is building with like-minded people right now who wants to do better, who wants to build things and have the same kind of agenda in mind. You know what I mean? And later on down the line, let us get straight, and you can have a home base to come to in case you are oppressed. You can come to some land and get away from that shit. Nobody's gonna treat you different because you gay and you want to come to the land, and we can do that. But we got to build that, because right now the LGBTQ, their community, not to my knowledge, not building any kind of forts, any kind of land, or trying to get land economic and get out here and get away from this bullshit. And if shit hit the fan like it did in downtown Portland, we can take our black people and get to some acres and like get away from that shit. Because right now it's a civil war. It's gonna be a civil war before it's a race war. Mark my words, this is gonna be a civil war before it's a race war. So at this point, we know this. We have no other option but to build. The spotlight is not on us. This isn't a Black Lives Matter thing that's going on around this country, Charlottesville and everything else. All that stuff is white people mad at white people about picking a white president, and people who wants to say the Second Amendment and free speech. And that opened up gateways to hate speech, and I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. But right now, that's not my fight. That's not my fight. You don't come over to my area and my family, and you talking about N-word this and Hispanic that and Muslim that, then be where you at. It's like crazy. Like let's go to West Lynn because they have a rally in West Lynn. You don't even live in West Lynn. You don't be in West Lynn. You don't even, half motherfuckers don't even be downtown. You know what I mean? So it's like, why are we still doing this? The last time we was down there was because two Muslims sisters was verbally attacked on the max, and 2 white guys stood up for him. And shout out to the comrade. I ain't gonna say no name. Shout out to the comrade. And one died and one got cut in the neck. You know what I mean? So we went down there on a protection mission. Wasn't down there on no let's go beat up all the white people. And that's crazy because a lot of black folks wanted to see that shit. They wanted to see us like then they wasn't even down there. So here we go with people holding people to a standard they don't hold themselves to. You know? And we was down there just on a protection mission. Wasn't down there on no rah-rah, let's go beat up all the white people and shit. So we are down there, whether you was gay, trans, black, when you were black, we were down there to protect you. And we have pretty much a lot of neighborhoods, you know what I mean, out there to protect gay people, to protect trans people, to protect, you know, black people in general, whether Hispanic and Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever you is, we was down there just to say that we are here for you, you know. And that's the cold part, is that, you know, when it's people like us in the community don't stand up for the people like us who want to take those bullets, then, you know, that's the most foulest part to me. You know what I mean? You should be cheering louder. That you should cheer for me when don't cheer for me because it's like you think this shit is cute or it's something else. I'm doing what I do for my people because I believe that that's what they want me to do. And I don't believe that I have dishonored my people. I don't believe I did anything to embarrass my people. Anything like that. I'm doing what I think my people would do, you know, or would want me to do. So I believe that, you know, all people got the right to live their life a certain way. Like I said, with the agenda, though, I don't think that LeBron James, one of the highest paying sports athletes, need to put on a dress to sell insurance. You didn't get him because of a dress. You got him because he's the highest paid athlete. You know what I mean? So we have to just be mindful of the imagery that people put out. So when I say castrated, that's what I mean. That man's a basketball player, top player. You got little kids looking at him, and you just put him in a dress. What that do to a young boy's mental?
So as far as homophobia and sexism, if someone was a passionate feminist, person of color, or not, would you be willing to organize with those people if it helped your narrative?
Not even just really helping my narrative. You know, if it helps the narrative of the progression of black people in general and not just one section of black people helping the feminine just by themselves, and they open to being like, I don't want to run nothing. And that's another thing in my party. I can't be against feminists and everything else. There's sisters that's in the party that holds high rank. You know, they tell guys what to do. So how can I be a feminist? How can I be against women? You know what I mean? So I would love to organize with anybody who's for the progression of black people, not for you for progression of just black women. If I did that as just a black man, we'll have a divide and have a clash. But if we for everybody moving in one common goal, I love to work with anybody, especially black feminists and black people. Period. They're my people.
Last question, since we only got 1 minute left, minute and 30 seconds. Do you hate white people, and how do you feel about the American flag?
No, I don't hate white people. I just know the history. I know the history, just like, you know, a lot of the history was kept from us. Once you dig through it, you understand the history of it. So no, I don't hate white people. There's some good Europeans out there. I know some good people that I know if I say go, they going a long way for me. You know what I mean? So I know that there's some good white people. Now, everybody don't believe like me because they're not raised in Portland, Oregon. You'd be kind of naive to say I went through high school all the way through and I didn't have no white friends. Like, I'm not raised where there's just only one white person in your whole city. That in Atlanta, you might not see nobody but black people. So they wouldn't know no different, no matter depending on where you at. So I get that, but I'm raised somewhere different. So I have a different mentality and I can't be ashamed of that. Now I know the history. Now, as far as the American flag, a lot of our people have given up. We know that the red, white, and blue, it wasn't created for us. We was never included in the Constitution. We were never created in any kind of laws. All the laws was honestly kind of made for black people to lock them up and cage them and incarcerate them. So it's not, like I said, that anger, once it goes away, it goes strictly into teaching. And it's not on me. Now, I know it's not on me. I can't change society. I can't change how people think. It's up to the lawmakers and the judges and the juries and the people who don't live this life to convince me back into believing. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be my job to convince you I'm not a threat. I haven't hurt anybody. You know what I mean? So it's up to the lawmakers and the people to say, all we want is somebody to stand up for us when we can't stand ourselves because we don't feel like we got a leg to stand on the red, white, and blue. You know, we getting locked up, people are getting killed, and officers are still getting paid vacation. It's like a slap in the face, you know what I mean? So it's on America elite. It's on, you know, the social aspect of America to say, look, black people now, you know, you should have a right to be proud about stuff that's in America because our black people have a very big hand in building this place. You know what I mean? But as far as the red, white, and blue, in 1776, Independence Day, we were still slaves. Just do the history on that. Just do the math on that. 1776 is Independence Day for the 4th of July. I still don't see why black people are celebrating that. But I'm wrong for saying it. But in 1776, we were still slaves. You know what I mean? So why are we celebrating somebody else's independence when it wasn't our independence? America became independent, but that wasn't our shit. So it's on them. It's on y'all to make that statement and make black people once again start believing in the red, white, and blue. You know what I mean? We've been tricked to thinking about it. Say it in school, plays allegiance to a flag that never had our best interest. So it's not up on. I can't change that.